For all my life, I would have known Victoria simply as the first village bought by the freed Africans after slavery was abolished on August 1st, 1838. I am sure it is the same for many, but after a walk in the expansive community, I found out there is so much more. Victoria is located on the Atlantic coast of Guyana, approximately 18 miles east of Georgetown, and is bordered by the villages of Covent John to the west and the now well-established Belfield to the east. The community was initially established as a plantation called Northbrook. In November 1839, 83 ex-slaves from 5 nearby estates, Dutchford, Ansgrove, Hope, Paradise, and Enmore, pooled their resources and bought plantation Northbrook for 30,000 guilders or 10,283.63 cents. Each of the 83 ex-slaves owned one plot of land. After its purchase, plantation Northbrook was renamed Victoria, presumably in honor of English Queen Victoria, although some suggest it may have been named after such in honor of the freed slaves' victory. This is the first church built in Victoria, a Congregationalist church named after William Wilberforce, the abolitionist. It was erected in 1845 and still stands to this day, and to ensure this church remains a historical landmark, several bodies, with the help of Victorians, dismantled the former wooden building and erected a concrete structure in its place.
The first preacher who came to Guyana, Reverend John Ray, that he came on the invitation of the plantocracy, and that plantocracy owner was Ormanus Post. Larry Souvenir has his remains there and as a point of reference. So he asked for Reverend Ray to come, and the society at the then time, what we call the London Missionary Society, sent young Ray to Guyana. He traveled and reached in Guyana 1808, and he had his first service at Bethel for Watkins, Bethel, which is our mother church, the first church. But outside, there wasn't a building as yet, so the first service was held with among 600 slaves. And it was those slaves that worked in that plantation and in this plantation, because the pastor who preached there was also ministering to people who were here. And you heard the story about wheelbarrows and monies in wheelbarrows. Those are true things.
That's Reverend Dr. Noel Holder, the pastor at Wilberforce Congregational Church, who took some time out after a small service on a rainy Sunday morning. Reverend Holder indicated the church was the foundation of the community and it was constructed for a multifaceted purpose. It hosted classroom sessions which taught persons to read and write. As the skies cleared, we got to venture outside and noticed a towering bell in the yard. While it is currently not in operational use, it held a key significance in the post-slavery era, according to resident Carmel Crawford.
When slavery was abolished, the slaves started to plant their own food to support themselves, because they couldn't get support from the previous masters that owned them. And to punish them, because they had wanted them to go back and work for them. To punish them, there is a coker out there, an historical coker out there. They used to open this coker and flood out the farms. So they decided to put a man to man the coker, a watchman. And when they found out that when they go to open the coker to flood out, they were faced with this person, so they killed him and flood out the place. So when they will see that, they came and they found him dead because they had wanted to know how come he's there, and they flood out the place. They put another man, and the same thing happened. The men decided they're not going anymore. So this woman, a mother of the village, Molly, she decided, well, look, y'all don't want to go. I am going to go. And she went there to watch. And she saw them when they came and she faced them. Well, you know what? You must confront them and so on. And they killed her. And when it was found out by the powers that be that they killed the woman, that was the end of everything.
I visited the coker, but it appeared not to be in operation anymore. However, the old relic still stood, masked by vegetation, and I remembered, right here, persons died trying to safeguard their livelihood.
This bell here, as soon as the Hope money flood, whosoever is manning the coker would come and ring the bell, and when the bell is rung, it goes right down into the village, and everybody comes out to know what it is. Now, when that was finished, until in my time when I was young, when anybody in the village died, they come and they ring this bell. Whether the person is a member of this church or any other church, once it's somebody from the village, they would ring the bell and persons would come out to find out who died, who died, who died. So this bell here play a significant role in the village.
A stone throw away from the church is the Victoria Culture Center, which according to former teacher Lauren Fraser, was a hub for socialization.
What my parents told me about this center is that they build the center to self-help the community. They fetch they made the block themselves, of course, and they bought the wood and so on the sawmill, and everybody used to come out in the afternoons after work and at weekends, and they worked and they built this center so that the people of Victoria could be comfortable. When there are events, everything is being done at the center. Sometimes they have wake, if somebody die, they have wake. And most time in those days, in my parents' days, when somebody died in the community, they used to walk around and make donations. People used to donate towards the burial and towards the wake and so on in the community. It was a very loving community in that time. There wasn't all these walls around.
As I stood speaking to Miss Fraser, I noticed there was a monument behind me, built by the village council in 1996 after independence. One of the names on that monument is the father of Miss Crawford, and she reflected her early days in the village.
This village was named after Queen Victoria, right? And her daughter, before she died, Princess Royal, they used to call her. I can't remember. That is the name we had to use in school. She came to see the village that was named after her mother, right? And she came to Victoria. She came, we had brick road. She came in the sea there, in a boat, a launch, and then they bring her in, right? And then she came. And I was about 8 years old, attending that school. So you know the village council, they have to prepare for the visit. So the school children had to line the road with their flags and singing the Rule Britannia, you know. And I was the person that had to take up the scissors on a cushion. I had to wear gloves. Take the scissors on a cushion to clip the ribbon, right? So that to till the soil, and she planted a palm tree. And the palm tree was there, but I don't know, it died.
The stump of the palm tree is still there today, right next to the Independence Monument. But just like most of the landmarks fallen away in Victoria, so is it close to its culture.
Does that strong sense of where Victoria came from, is that still prevalent to the community? People still pay homage to that?
No. People don't pay homage anymore to that strong corporation in Victoria. It's not there anymore because it's like everybody fighting for themselves. You try to do something, you know, people would object to it, especially if it's not your concern. I remember as a child growing up in the community of Victoria, you do something wrong on the road, any parent could correct you. And if it's a few lashes, you got it. You can't touch anybody's child now. You can't even scold them because they go home and they tell their parents probably a different story and the parents come in rage. So that bond, that community bond, is not there anymore. You can't walk through people's yard without their permission. And if you're not a friend more so, you can't even touch the step, the gate or so. So there's a vast difference in terms of this cooperative and community living in Victoria.
My growing up in Victoria, by a poem I did. I don't know if you want to hear the poem, but and I try to remember it. And it says, me one countryman, a Victoria born and grow. Me one countryman, and then we want all of you to know. Not because I hear my talk with when came and took, and sometimes I just see me read big book. Me one countryman, and you better take 1 second look. Me lime a 4 corner, me swim a 40 feet, me drink black water, me yam wild meat, me play salt pass, crocodilo, and jumbie lefty pipe here, and me no forget squirrels, sunfish, and patwa. Me now pint a bang without me put me hand in my mouth, and at night when I going late, me always a turn about. When I go latching late at night, me always a shout, Jumbie, if you're in there, you better come out. Me do all these things and many more because these are the doings I do with people and then that gone before. So not judged by the things they say or the things they do. Me and one countryman, and we laugh at you. Though me pass the common entrance and me GC and we went to high school in the big city. My mother is still my mama and my father my daddy, my brother my buddy and my sister my sissy. Me when they went jail engage and walk a village with style. And when we like suck, me turn to own the child. When Ram go tell him how we bend down and cockroach it for my neighbor wedding gown. That's as far as I can remember. But that's what I can remember. So I try to sum up my growing up in Victoria because the things that I learn, the folklore, the food that you eat, the things, the sayings and the customs. Victoria is a village, as you say, the forest village, and sometimes some people try to contradict that.
That's a rendition of folklore from master sculptor Ivan Ian Tom, who was born in Victoria.
They worked an indentureship period for 4 years. 4 years before they were completely free. They worked in indenture. And the overtime during that time, and they had foresight because they were saving their money, and that was the very purpose they were saving money for. So when the opportunity presented itself, Northbrook, that is the name before it became Victoria, was an abundant plantation. And so they got the opportunity. And even to when the planters realized that it's or saving the money to purchase the village, they tried to increase the price. But notwithstanding that, they were still able to get together and pool the money. The other thing that is significant is to say that there were people from Plantation Dutch Fort, Ansgrove, Enmore, Paradise, and there were 5 of them, Dutch Fort, Ansgrove, Enmore, Paradise, and there's another that I can't remember, but they were from 5 different areas. They got together and they pooled the money. And if you take a physical look at the area, to walk from Paradise to from Dutch Fort to Paradise is a good puzzle, but they used to communicate, and that showed the trust and the togetherness they had and the cooperativism that they had among themselves. They are living, working, and sharing, and that is not no meager thing. That's a very, very large accomplishment.
I learned that from my grandparents, that the slaves, they pull their money in wheelbarrow. And when we talk about money, it wasn't really dollars. The money was mostly coin. So it was heavy, that's why they put it in the wheelbarrow. And they bought this village. And while they were pushing the wheelbarrow, the money, they were singing this song. Ganja money yo, ganja money ye. I will pull away money, I will buy Victoria. Ganja money ye, ganja money yo. That was the song that they sang when they were pushing the wheelbarrow to purchase Victoria.
The togetherness, the collective efforts to build and develop socially and economically is not as prevalent these days.
What I find in Victoria, I find that Victoria is divided. There's those who from the northern side, we call the roadside, and those who from the southern side, we call the back dam side. And it's divided, and that was designed because those on the roadside were the ones who took the public service job, and now the police and teachers and all. And those on the back down side, they took the farming. Those were the ones who were maintaining the tradition, the African tradition. And so, of course, they were the divide and rule. And so that system was in place to divide and keep them apart. Not to stand that they were still able to maintain. But what I find in Victoria is that in Victoria, they might appear to be that division. But outside, let a stranger go into Victoria, and then you see how much Victoria people unite. They unite among themselves against stranger. Among themselves, there might be that little bit of division, but Victoria people always come together for a common cause.
I had to journey to the southern side of Victoria, into the Bagdam as many may say. It is peaceful, some old houses, but there is a stall at most corners, and most people are interacting. In the farmlands I met Monty George, who has been in the backlands farming since 1985.
Just balance. We're going on a smooth ride.
Hope so.
Yeah, man.
This is day to day, every day.
Yeah, every day, because you see we got some goat at the end. Them goat just cross over, they go there every day across this trench for
With this boat?
with this boat here, because over there we got sufficient grazing over in the village here. So I bring them right by the dam. And today, instead of pull out some boar out there, so I just put the cow and the goat to graze out there.
So how long you been doing this?
Well, since my father used to plant here since 1978. And when as soon as he come off, I come up on the plant thing. There's like, 1985, so I've been doing this and cut cane together.
Well, the boat ride was not that smooth as George intended, but it's quick across the company trench and into his farm.
I last over 35 pig over here. Got some small one, all gone now because of the steady rainfall in the last rainy season. Yeah, this nobody just planting back in now to raise back something to be able to sustain myself.
You know, you told me something just now. A lot of people in Victoria do this because of livelihood. But tell me something, without farming, how difficult do you believe it would be for people from Victoria?
To survive? Well, I think only farming can carry through. You understand? Because how long you're doing farming, at the end of the day, you must got something to carry home. Got food got to sell. You understand? Food people got to eat. So, me think it's the best thing for me. And a lot of people think it's the best way for them too. Got plenty young man, younger than me. They fighting up with farming today because you can't go here and get a job, you can't go there and get a job. So the best thing for you to do is to do farming. And farming is the key in any country, right?
Some persons talked about the fact that Victoria might have lost its roots. You being here in the heart of Victoria, you believe that is true?
Yeah, that is true.
Why so?
Man, let me tell you. Where Victoria lost its roots. In the past, let me tell you exactly what's going on. In the past, we had elders used to come and try to tell me the things, but now people start criticize the elders. But people get frustrated and say, watch, leave everybody where they are. Because we had some big elders, who could go and interact more with people. How they do, they believe the people they're collecting things and not giving them. You understand? But I know a big man up the road, he try well good for Victoria people, but then, at the end of the day, he come under criticism, so he decide to leave it just like that. Let everybody go and look after things for themselves. Whereas, everything, if you get a group now, then everything gonna be all right. But then everybody just looking things for yourself, grabbing for yourself. And it cannot work.
I think what happened is that a lot of the Victoria people would pass on their tradition and people were interested in that. I think they move on. I think it's a general thing throughout Guyana, where that we trying to think that something outside of our community, outside of our country is better. So with the advent of this new music and internet and all, people tend to forget their roots and then move away from the roots. Apart from that, Victoria is a kind of a village that is abandoned. They're not getting the kind of support that should have gotten from the authorities. And so Victoria people have to fend on their own. Victoria people, the first hotel that was established on the East Coast, I think that part of the East Coast, was in Victoria. The first agricultural fair in the entire Guyana was in Victoria. Victoria people were leading, and I think they still have the potential to lead and the potential to carry on. What is lacking now is the kind of leadership to mobilize and get the place together. And I think that is where a lot of the people who were occupying that role, who were not there, moved on. A lot of them moved to other communities and other villages. So, but I think, like everything else, and Victoria will rise again.
As I listened to Monty and him telling me how expansive Company Trench is and its importance, I couldn't help but remember Miss Fraser's story about a 40 feet in North Victoria, which held key significance during the days of slavery.
This trench is named the 40 feet trench. It used to have the board up that would tell you how deep it is. So when the water goes down, it goes down. When it's high, it's 40 feet. And this was pure black water. No one was allowed to swim in this trench. And if you're caught swimming in it, because in those days, you used to leave your clothes out by the dam and you plunge in the trench. When the overseer runs the trench and he sees clothes or he sees anybody bathing, he sees the clothes. Only parents can bring the children to get back the clothes. And this was the main trench. It stretches covering the entire width area of Victoria, the entire area. It leads into the Victoria Belfield trench, the trench that separates Victoria and Belfield. It leads into the one that separates the Covanjan and Victoria. So this, you bring your produce on the back, because most of the planting used to be done at the back. So you bring your produce on the back, from any end it could come to your home, where you are, using this trench.
Those trenches seem ageless, as even today it serves as a waterway for farmers, such as Monty, where farming is much more than a way of bringing in income or putting food on the table. It is an extension of their life.
Well, let me tell you, this is, when you come up to farming, this is what I really like, you know. Yeah, because I started from a tender age with my father, and I stay in it. This is my only source of income right now. Depends on the sale, man, because you know things, the prices up and down. You don't get it. Like in the rainfall, the right grades are really short, so you could get money for things. But now it's not really. They're plenty now. But then when I got a month, but if I get a full crop and get a good price, man, things will be all right.
Well, it doesn't seem as if though those prices are going to improve anytime soon.
Well, because now we're going back to the dry weather, and in the countryside, everybody just try to do a little thing for themselves. I always try to plant a little kitchen garden in the backyard, because we could even forget something. Everybody just try to do a little thing of everybody.
Tom is a descendant of one of the persons who purchased the village, and he indicated there were 3 women among the 83 who purchased Victoria.
And many people may not know that among the 83 slaves that purchased Victoria, there were 3 females. Some say there were more than 3, but I think that there were 3 females. Incidentally, one was Catherine Tom. I'm a direct descendant of Catherine Tom. Also, Victoria, but many people know that when the proprietors, the original proprietors purchased the village, and it was divided, they occupied areas based on occupation. I'm told that if you were a fisherman, or there was a fisherman's community, if you were a farmer, they occupy based on their occupation. That is how they congregate. So there were groups of in this area where everybody in that area were farmers, everybody that area were fishermen, everybody in that area were cooper, because when they say cooper, I mean those used to make those big tanks. Because growing up, I remember I was always told, oh, you're from the Cooper generation, Cooper generation. At that time, I thought maybe they were referring to the name Cooper, the last name Cooper. And I remember in my grandmother's kitchen, there used to be an anvil and sledgehammer and anvil and all these things they used to blacksmith, the bellone, and I never knew what it was until I got involved in art and metal art. Then I realized, and I realized also that the cooper they were talking about, because I was told that my ancestors were coopers, they built these large tanks and so. And my grandmother used to proudly say that, okay, her grandparents were not field slaves, they were artisans. So my being an artist perhaps maybe something that I inherit, I don't know.
Catherine, Tom, could you say some of these stories, your grandparents or other relatives would have told you about?
Well, not much, nobody never really say much about it. Only what I knew is that I was told that on the list of proprietors there was Joseph Augustus Andrews, which was one aspect that was my grandmother's side. And then I was told Catherine Tom was by my grandfather's side. What I know, and I know that some of my grandfather's siblings go as Kojo and some go as Tom. But I was told also that many of the people in Victoria who still carry African names were the ones who were religious and were strong, and they maintained, and some of them immediately after slavery was abolished, they adopted the African name. And so they adopted, so I rather suspect that the Kojo side of my family, they probably were set who adopted their, or went back to the African name. And one of the things I know is also that a lot of the people were saying that when they when they die, some of them would have preferred to be buried in groups and buried among the ancestors, because they feel that if they bury among the ancestors, then their soul can travel back to Africa. There were a lot of traditions you hear growing up, and as I said in the poem, when you're growing up, you say, if you pint your honey in the bengum, you got to bite your mouth because your finger going to rotten off. And there were a lot of things that, and I guess, like, I looked at the African movie, and I remember, and I saw where people going and pick firewood. As a little boy growing up in Victoria, I had to do that. I would go and pick firewood. I noticed the people taking the pad and put it on their head, and my grandmother used to do that, always carry a crop wrap around the waist, and they would use that for pad and different things. So what I would say, that the break with the African tradition, I think it happened with my generation. That's because until to my generation, they were practicing some aspect of the African culture and the tradition. But I say for my generation, that is the everything has changed. Growing up with it, sing folk song, every occasion you have song for. They don't; those things don't happen anymore. Even to when the villagers bought Victoria, and when Queen Victoria married to a German man, they had a song about it, that when I go home, I'm going to tell my mama, say, Victoria married a German man. Everything that happened, they used to have songs for them.
Now, Tom, like many, is doubtful that the cultural side can be regalvanized in the community due to the bridging gap in passing along the stories and the lack of documentation on history. But while the new generation may not know the deep details about their history, they still sit by the dams and have a laugh as they observed while riding through the village on an old bicycle. I had to take a dip while just defeating the trench, and was bye-bye Victoria.